we do the tech practice. Okay,
Yes.
let's enjoy, and we are eager to learn from you.
Thank you.
Kids were waiting for something very catchy.
No one pays much attention to the ordinary until they restore democracy, feed the hungry, save the seas, or protect the dignity of a people. For how can one see greatness in the unassuming, the soft-spoken, the frail, or the humble, if it's measured by the usual yardstick of success? The man whose name now bears Asia's most prestigious award seemed ordinary by all means. except that even as a mechanic, he already had the sense to improve the lives of his fellow men. What is it about ordinary men and women who turn their back on a comfortable life so they can clean up oceans and light up villages? How can they know that what they fight for will make governments sit up and listen? What moves these ordinary people to do extraordinary things? It's called greatness of spirit. It is celebrated every 31st of August by the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation as a fitting homage to the legacy of the Philippine president who was once called Man of the Masses. He believed that the little man is entitled to a little bit more of everything, and that no one's dignity should ever be compromised. Today, over 300 ordinary men and women have displayed the same conviction and courage to transform society, and thus have been honored with the Ramon Magsaysay Award. For protecting fundamental human rights, for encouraging the poor to become asset creators, or for just playing music that colors the mind. And while the award can boost ordinary men and women to celebrity, many of the winners use it to enable them to work much harder for the communities they serve, because they know that the award is not about them, but about the solutions they make. That's how ordinary men and women become extraordinary.
You drink it, you cook with it, you use it every day. But for 1 in 4 people, clean water isn't on tap. Instead, it's a long walk, a heavy load, a health risk. As cities grow, water sources shrink, rivers run dry, wells go deeper, and unpredictable floods, droughts, and storms are hitting hardest when life is already tough. Everyone is affected, but those with the least lose the most. It's time for us to act and to listen to science, to nature, and to the voices of those living in scarcity. The Fair Water exhibit shows how each of us, like a single drop, can ripple outward and become waves of change. Discover research, expert talks, powerful stories, and artworks that will inspire action towards a fair water future. Fair water? Let's make it a reality. Visit the free exhibit at Ayala Museum from May 28 to August 28, 2025.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Fairwater Talks. We are thrilled to have you join us today for this important gathering dedicated to raising awareness, sharing solutions, and taking action for a sustainable water future. Visit our social media pages at Fairwater MNL and at Magsaysay Award for more information on the exhibit and talks. We gratefully acknowledge our partners for today's event: Ayala Museum, Ayala Foundation, Asian Development Bank, and the University of Oxford. Please turn your attention to the screen in front for a video presentation from our partners and house rules.
Sila ang mga dapatapon, basurang itinatapon natin dito at doon. Lagim na namumuo sa ating mga waterway. May dalawang klase ng basura na nagiging sanhi ng pagdumi ng ating waterways. Una ay ang solid waste tulad ng goma at plastic. Pero meron ding liquid waste o wastewater. Ito yung ginamit na tubig gaya ng pang-flush ng inidoro, panligo, at panghugas ng pinggan. Wastewater din ang maruruming likido na nanggagaling sa mga commercial at industrial establishment. Solid o liquid, kapag napunta sa ating mga katubigan, pareho silang lason na pumapatay sa ating mga yamang tubig, gaya ng mga ilog at dagat, at nagiging banta sa kalusugan ng komunidad. Huwag mag-alala, may pag-asa pang masagip ang ating mga katubigan. Ito ay sa pamamagitan ng solid waste segregation and recycling at sa responsible wastewater management. Sa pamamagitan ng world-class treatment facilities ng Maynilad, nakokolekta at nalilinis ng husto ang wastewater bago ito ibalik sa ating mga katubigan. Kaya, hindi ito nagdudulot ng polusyon. Kung mapapangalagaan natin ang ating mga waterway, pwede rin itong maging alternative water source para sa ating inuming tubig. Ito ang ginagawa ng Maynilad sa tulong ng mga makabagong teknolohiya at pasilidad na nakakapag-produce ng tubig na pasado sa Philippine National Standards for Drinking Water or PNSTW ng DOH. Pero syempre, ang pinakamabisa pa rin panlaban sa pagkasira ng ating waterways ay ang pagtupad ng ating tungkulin na protektahan ang ating mga katubigan. Kaya huwag magtapon kung saan-saan dahil ugaling patapon yan.
Before we begin today's program, we would like to remind the audience of the following. The video and audio functions of the audience will be disabled during the forum. For questions, verifications, and comments, we encourage everyone to use the Q&A tab in the chat room in the Zoom webinar. We will try to address as many relevant questions and comments during the session. Please be respectful in the chat room and comment section during the forum. Please follow the Ramon Magsaysay Award and Fairwater Manila on our social media accounts on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you for joining us today. We will begin the program in a few minutes.
Thank you, Maynilad, for championing our cause and helping us bring the inspiring stories of our speakers to a wider audience through the Fairwater Talk series. To officially open today's Fairwater Talk, may we call on the President of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, Ms. Susan B. Afan.
Thank you, Simone, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for being with us this morning. We are truly, truly grateful for your presence, especially as many parts of our country, the Philippines, continues to face the impact of back-to-back tropical storms that hit us in the past 14 days. You know, these storms have brought heavy rainfall, widespread flooding, power interruptions, and limited access to clean water, disrupting lives and putting vulnerable communities at even greater risk. So, you know, when you talk about us not just talking, but walking the talk, we're actually experiencing it right now. Our thoughts, obviously, are with everyone affected. We hope for their safety and for a swift and steady recovery in the days ahead. And, you know, but then for now, we are going to be talking about something so relevant to us right now. And it reminds us that access to energy is not simply a matter of convenience, because it is actually essential to survival, to dignity, and in rebuilding lives after a crisis. This also reveals the urgent need to strengthen our systems here in Manila and in rural and disaster-prone areas, not just in the Philippines, but all over Asia. We need solutions that are reliable, inclusive, resilient. And this is the reason why we're here this morning. And, we're going to talk about all of these problems in a much larger context. Well, for those that are unaware, and again, I myself am being reminded about the Philippines facing a triple pressure in terms of all the challenges that we have as a country. We have a growing population, we have a rising energy demand, and a climate crisis that seems to hit us harder every single year. In 2023, 78% of our electricity came from fossil fuels. Only about 20% of our electricity comes from low carbon sources, with most of that coming from hydropower and geothermal. Solar and wind, which are increasingly common in other countries, make up only 2.5% of our energy mix. That's far below the global average of 13% and even the ASEAN average of 4.4%. Meanwhile, millions of Filipinos in rural areas still lack access to stable, affordable electricity. I have to tell everybody that the Philippines is very, very rich in natural, renewable resources. We have enough sun, wind, water, and geothermal heat to fuel a clean energy future. We already rank third in the world in installed geothermal capacity. What we need now is to close the gap between promise, between pledges, and progress, and to move from plans to action. We are deeply honored to be joined today by Ms. Tri Mumpuni, 2011 Ramon Magsaysay Awardee and Executive Director of IBEKA. In Indonesia, she has helped bring electricity to more than 500,000 people in remote communities, not through large-scale corporate projects, but through village-led micro hydropower systems that protect nature and empower the people who live closest to it. Her work provides and proves that access to clean energy can be community-owned, inclusive, and transformative, changing not just how villages are lit, but how they grow, learn, and thrive. Joining her is Mr. Iskandar Budisaroso, Kuntoadji, who is the founder of IBEKA and who pioneered the use of micro hydropower, not merely as an engineering solution, but as a response to deeper questions of access, equity, and inclusion. He saw potential in every river, not just to generate electricity, but to connect communities to resources, to opportunities, and to power to shape their own future. Moderating our session this morning is Mr. Robbie Alampay. Robbie is a good friend of the Foundation, a veteran journalist and communications leader with deep experience in storytelling, public advocacy, and development communication. As a founder of Puma Podcast and former editor-in-chief of Business World and Interaction.com, he has championed inclusive narratives on governance, sustainability, and people-powered change across Asia. He is currently a first vice president and head of public engagement and corporate communication at SMART PLDT. IBEKA's story reminds us that energy, power is not just a question of access. It is about justice, inclusion, and dignity. Here in the Philippines, more than 10% of households still do not have access to electricity. Many others live with unreliable, expensive power. This is not just a technical gap. It is a human gap that needs to be addressed quickly, addressed now. As we begin today's conversation, let us ask how we can build systems that do more than deliver electricity. How do we create systems that empower people, uplift communities, and protect our shared environments amidst all the challenges that we face? So this morning, ladies and gentlemen, let us listen closely. Let us be moved to act, though, more importantly. Let us carry forward what we hear from today's conversation and hopefully create a movement that can change, status quo. Thank you, and let's have a great day. All right. So good morning. Good morning, everyone. Hello, Tree. Hello, Iskandar. How are you this morning?
Hello, hello.
Which part of Indonesia are you in with us this morning?
At the moment in Jakarta.
Okay, you are in Jakarta. I was just wearing a dress yesterday from Yogyakarta, and I had so many people, give me so many wonderful comments. Okay, this is where beautiful batik is made, right?
Okay.
All right. So please, Robbie, you want to join us? Where are we here? Okay, so yeah. Robbie, join us.
Hello. Good morning. Apa kabar? Ibu, Pak?
Baik. Very good, Robbie.
Morning.
Yeah. Okay.
Terima kasih.
So, Simone, what is next? I think the floor is all yours now, Puni and Iskandar, for your presentation, right?
Okay, thank you. I thought Robbie is going to say something, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, maybe
Well,
maybe we should. We're very casual this morning here. Go ahead, Robbie. Say a little something.
No, I mean, thank you, Susan, for this introduction. I think you're right. We are here to just open the floor for Ibu Puni and for Pak Iskandar. But I thank you also for giving me this opportunity just to share my own thoughts in these days where we are reminded not just of the power of water, but also how much we miss and the opportunities that we have, the risks that are aggravated when we fail to harness and we fail to manage our water. Just a short way of me saying I'm glad to be here. And now, as you said, we hand over to I think Ibu Puni will be the first to present on the wonderful work of IBEKA.
Thank you, Robbie. Good morning, everybody. You are in the frame or outside. Well, it is really my privilege and a very great feeling to have a reunion with Magsaysay, where my second home. And I'm so glad that so far we still very consistent and being to work in the same place as giving to the less privileged community, energy, clean water supply, and even on sanitation and also economic development. For us, what we believe so, that electricity is the backbone of economic development. And just to inform you, nowadays we have a program called Patriot Energy, is deploying young engineer to the very remote area of Indonesia where there is no electricity and very poor of infrastructure. Well, I just would like to share the PowerPoint presentation that we have been prepared so that not only talking about what is in the ground level, but what we do is actually we are implementing something that we strongly believe it's become our.
Share.
Wait a second, I would like to share this. Okay.
Yeah.
Share. Okay, wait a second. Sorry, this is we are talking about technology. Okay. I hope everybody can see. Okay.
Yes, yes, we can.
Well, we would like to start with the water and energy, the importance of water in powering our world. It is the theme that we would like to discuss. And when I'm asking many people, powering our world, what is powering? Because we have a strong belief that water and energy is only a tools for human being, for life of many creatures globally. Then, when we want to see the detail, there are two very important that we are witnessing in the mainstream of development now, that water and energy have power. Is it, well, is it chaotic and unsustainable for the community globally, or peaceful and sustainable? This has to be crystal clear for us to understand which one actually that is happening now and which one that we can contribute to create. Well, nowadays, sustainable development goals has become a very sexy and a strong movement led by the United Nations. Then we become part of it. What is our contribution to sustainable development? Is it easy to achieve it, or is it not easy? Let's have a look for the SDGs. Even though there are 17 SDGs as a tools to address the recent serious problem. But we would like to put ourselves on the water, energy, and sustainable living. Okay, this is SDGs number 6, number 7, and number 11 that we are going to address. Well, before we go further, I would like to remind all of us, our great-grandfather, who always saying that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we use when we created them. So, when we are talking about SDGs number 6, 7, and 11, we still have to remember this very important message that Einstein has given to us. The serious problem can only be addressed if we have a mindset reform, right? Well, this mindset reform is how we have to think and act out of the box. We cannot do everything business as usual. We have to find a breakthrough if we want to create the very best solution to our mankind. What we are looking now, that is in the mainstream, that commercial-based centralized power generation, it is really put at the front of development. And the result, you can see this, is a chaotic and unsustainable. Well, look, what we say here, we have a big power company globally with a really fossil fueled. And this is, we talk about very small things in Indonesia with 5 kilowatt, 5 kilowatt grid. And this is for urban and suburban area. You see, I put it as a purple, urban and suburban. We are using fossil fuel base. And we still have many villages that run on what we call it small village rural power enterprise off-grid with a local renewable energy source. I call it village A, village D. This is what IBEKA is working for the last 35 years, giving them, but even though only very few that's connected to the grid, but nowadays it's off-grid. And we still have village B and village C. I put it in the red color, which unelectrified, where our Patriot energy is deployed to those areas so that they can help the local community to find their own source of energy with renewable and being developed on their own. Our engineer, our Patriot energy has only become a facilitator that help the local community to provide their own electricity demand. This is remind me of my trip 2006 to 2009 when I visited barangay, so many barangay in Philippines, where I know that they still unelectrified and we're trying to give electrification for them. This is village renewable energy potential, but still unutilized. So what we do? What we do is that we give them electricity, and what we are using is a community-based distributed power generation scheme. We love to use this community-based as our scheme because this is the one that are helping the local community. Well, I would like to show you the films. Wait a second. This is the film that we make back in many years ago, but in 2017 and 18, we have this. Sorry, can you hear that? Is there any song? Any song?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, thank you. This Sumba, we have to travel from Jakarta, flying to Bali for 2 hours, and then 1.5 hours reaching to this village. Well, there are so many places like this. The local community who are preparing socially. Or they are willing to work together.
Masyarakat perlu menyambut dengan gembira karena Indonesia merdeka dari 70-an tahun yang lalu, tetapi belum kami rasakan bantuan seperti ini. Dari lembaga IBEKA yang membantu kami untuk mendapat penerangan yang leluhur kami tidak pernah impikan, bahwa hari ini kami dapat satu sukacita yang luar biasa. Puji Tuhan, ini adalah berkat yang luar biasa untuk kami Kecamatan Kaung Eti, Desa Kambatagundong.
East Sumba is in an island called Sumba Island. Everything was very left behind. In that small island, actually, there are so many potential.
Dari keberlanjutan yang dari strategi IBEKA adalah pada fondasi sosial, di mana masyarakat menjalin hubungan antar sosial masyarakat secara utuh dengan ada aspek partisipasi aktif dalam bentuk pembangunan gotong royong maupun pengelolaan secara bersama, sehingga mereka punya kesadaran untuk saling bahu-membahu, saling mengingatkan, saling membuka transparansi, dan juga saling mengkritisi maupun memberikan saran untuk hal yang lebih baik.
PLTMH ini tidak sekedar kita ngomong tentang teknis, tapi juga non-teknis. Bagaimana kita bicara tentang manusia, bagaimana masyarakat setempat itu merasa memiliki dengan kegiatan ini, dengan program ini. Karena itu menjamin bagaimana ini nanti bisa berlanjut.
Well, this is what we call social preparation. Everybody voluntarily involved. And this is 800 kilograms you saw before, and this one 200 kilograms. It's from the top of the road, they bring it down to where the powerhouse is. Everybody excited to contribute because they know that the electricity is for their own village and their people. What IBEKA and the team needs is capturing the local community passion, energy, and imagination. They are all people that we need to empower. We cannot give them just facilities, top-down approach. That's not really bringing them to understand what all of this all about. So that's why we need the intellectuals to be in people's shoes activity. This is what IBEKA is doing it now with the young engineer and whoever who want to volunteer to be in a remote area of Indonesia. What is the activities that the intellectuals and the community are working together? That is what we call reconnaissance phase, where we understand that technical aspect of these facilities contribute at the maximum 30%. What's very important is empowerment. And empowerment is talking about social and managerial. And this is contribute up to 70% of the whole activities. Let's have a look to the timeline. When you see this timeline, the 6 months is a resource, at least 6 months, resource data assessment, baseline data collection, and also social capital acknowledgement. I think since we are talking a little bit on this technical aspect, also social managerial, I would like to invite Iskandar to explain more detail on this picture. Thank you.
Magandang umaga, everybody. I'm wrong or right? Magandang. Okay. Resource data assessment. I think on my term, it's called sectoral mapping, base data called spatial mapping, and social capital acknowledgement, it's social mapping. These three data, after we collect it, then it's gathered in the village meeting occasion, and this meeting occasion actually have to take place to make sure what we call the floating mass awareness in consolidation phase. Floating mass awareness. What is floating mass awareness? Floating mass awareness is some kind of diffusion innovation. In every village, this is the gauss distribution of village people. There is what we call the innovator, the maximum 5% of the community. Then the early follower, maximum 20% of the population. And then early majority, it's about 20%. And the late majority, it's most of the late majority, and the last is not more than 20% is laggard provocateur. These things we have to be careful, because if not, then this laggard will ruin your whole project. Then what after floating mass awareness, then we have to understand that this is the critical phase of the project. After floating mass awareness is already fulfilled, then we can go to what we call village consensus. It takes about 9 to 12 months usually. Then after the village consensus, we can go to another phase we call the self-organizing phase. Self-organizing phase will takes about 6 months, and then this self-organizing phase will be the base of what we call construction, participation construction, self-reliant phase, participation construction. Then because there is a participation construction, then the technical capability and the managerial capability will slowly rise the capability of the community. So then we go to what the situation. This green line say that if you are not in the community participation optimally, don't do the construction, because if you do the construction without community participation in optimal condition, then the situation will like this, the red line. What is the red line is? No community consolidation, no self-organizing, and no self-reliance. It means that no sustainability. So what is the difference between no community participation and community participation? The difference is it is grassroots mobilization, and grassroots mobilization is techno-anthropology. I will come back later for techno-anthropology, but the difference between techno-anthropology and socio-economy is you can see humane consciousness. Humane consciousness is the communication between your brain, the brain and the heart. If socio-economy, the heart is empty. Okay, back to the diagram, one-line diagram. So what we are trying to do is not commercial-based centralized power generation, but we call it the community-based power generation. So what is community-based power generation? Every village can develop their own energy resource. Even the village which is potential energy can be used and make the other village which is not electrified can be electrified. Let village D and unelectrified potential in your life site, it solo can be developed and can used for the village, the unelectrified village. This is the whole scheme, and the scheme I saw this in Sri Lanka before, and all the Sri Lankan is all grid connected. That why when we we landed in Sri Lanka, there is a strike by the what is the rebellion there? The Colombo do not have electricity, but the small village around Colombo are can have the energy from their own power plant. Then I will make difference between commercial based electric power generation and community based electric power generation. First, the commercial based is financial capital gain. And the community based is social capital improvement. Then what differences? The big differences is this commercial base is more on socio-economic or monetary gain, but in community base is techno-anthropologic or biosphere improvement. So what is techno-anthropologic? Techno-anthropologic, I think this is technology. Technology are used of knowledge, tools, and technique to solve problem, to achieve a goal, perform a specific function. But this have to be supported by capacity need. This capacity need have to be in place to enhance the range of human choice, all members of the community. This is the local capacity of the community. So I will divide this capacity need and local capacity. If we bring down the capacity, we can call this user friendly. What is user friendly? Like a handy phone. Handy phone is user friendly. Everybody in the village can use the handy phone. Then if we bring up the local capacity, it is capacity building. Like beasiswa. What is beasiswa? Scholarship for the young generation to go overseas and take a university. But what is techno-anthropology? Techno-anthropology capacity needs is bring down a little bit, and local capacity is push up a little bit. So this is called empowerment. So I will use what is sustainability? Sustainability is the use of resource, natural and social, concerning carrying capacity in order to utilization over time. So for this reason, benefit for humanity and environmental conservation. Now, what we are trying to do, techno-anthropology in contrast with social economy. The social economy is more on financial capital accumulation. And the techno-anthropology is more on local social capital enrichment. So I will make stress or garis bawah atau garis bawah. Stressing. Technology in social economy, technology is tools to gain profit by the capital owner. But techno-anthropology, technology is a tools to increase benefit of the local community. This is the difference. So how you can talk social sustainable development if we still in socio-economic, because there will be injustice of social and injustice of environmental. So back to what economic growth and efficiency. I think I will give it back to Puni.
Thank you, Iskandar. So, when we talk about mindset reform, we would like to see clearly on those two different mindset. Why I would like to contrast these two? Because then people will see very clearly what is commercial-based centralized power generation and how community-based distributed power generation. Please have a look. In the commercial-based, we see the financial capital gain, which in community-based, we are clearly seeing that social capital improvement. And if we talk about socio-economic, it's a monetary base in the commercial base, and economic growth and efficiency. We heard that a lot of many times people saying that efficient. The notion of efficient, are they really thinking about the community benefit, which is in community-based, techno-anthropologic as a biosphere based. We're not only talking about money, but what is the effect of the environment, the community welfare, and the understanding of culture sharing, all those aspects that is very important in the development process. And we are thinking about welfare, equality, and resiliency of the local community. If we talk about commercial, of course, the company is very few, big, uniform, abundant product, which in community-based, we are looking at many companies, many small and medium enterprises that also can be participate, a small scale, unique, because every area is very unique because they can produce what is available locally and a few products. And a commercial base, centralized and techno-mechanic, which is in community-based, scattered, and bioorganic. Corporate paradigm is very exclusive, and cooperative paradigm is inclusive. So I think Iskandar can clearly distinguish this.
So I will go back a little bit to centralized techno-mechanic. So what we are now, I feel, especially me, that the education in Indonesia is make every every student become a machine, not become a human, scattered organic, because scattered organic is mean that you think like a organism. In the first phase of the life, the growth is big. Then after you are in teenagers, the growth is small, and even if you are major, then there is no growth anymore. If technomechanic, it is the growth is steady from your born until, I don't know, maybe until you die, the steady growth of your body. It is not possible here in bioorganic. So please, Pun.
Well, what I would like to just make it clear, and the technomechanic is we can see that the growth is unlimited. Enough is never enough. This is what it's make it the word unsustainable. When we are considering of bioorganic, we know when we have to stop, like our own body that Iskandar just mentioned, and it's scattered because every area, every region, and every villages has the right also to have their own businesses. Well, I understand that education, formal education, is giving the students everything uniform. And then they're using corporate paradigm, very exclusive, and it's not cooperative paradigm, where it's very important because inclusive. Everybody can be part of the development. Well, it's a competition and parasitic. Why I say that? Because usually they're looking that, well, if you not, if you are competing our product, I will make another product with cheaper price. And it's just like there is no sharing culture at all. In community-based, we are based on cooperation, symbiomutualistic. Everybody has the right to grow. Everybody has the right to do the businesses together. And we are fulfilling one to each other. Natural resources are considered as scarce. So we have to exploit as quickly as possible up to the limit, which is in community-based, natural resources are adequate. Everybody have the right to have an access. So we are really what we call it sharing culture. And natural resources become a commodity, has an economic value, and has to create money. We forgot that living in harmony with natural resources will make us sustainable, and we can give this to our future grandchildren. This is, I call it colonialism mental model. It's not an empowerment mental model. And we say that this is conqueror archetype. It's not conqueror archetype in the community base, but Mother Earth archetype. Life is about sharing, giving, love, you know. As a result, environmental degradation is occurred manywhere. If you see how our forests, maybe also not in Indonesia, but also in the Philippines and other parts of the world, Brazil, you know, South America, they also facing a problem in Africa, especially environmental degradations with minings and other extractive industry activity. We forgot that life has also to consider environmental conservation. Well, a result of commercial base, mostly biodiversity impoverishment. We understand that how many very important creature that's already gone become endangered due to the destruction of our environment. What we have to do is in community base, mostly the result is biodiversity enrichment. Okay, the mindset for the SDGs should follow this community base, not only in power distribution, but in any aspect of development. Social capital improvement, I have to repeat this, you know, techno-anthropology, biosphere, welfare, equality and resiliency, many small unique few products, scattered bioorganic, cooperative paradigm, inclusive, cooperation, symbiomutualistic, nature resources are adequate, living in harmony with nature resources, empowerment model, empowerment mental model as Mother Earth archetype. And then we know environmental conservation will be in place and biodiversity enrichment can occur.
Okay, I will go back a little bit to empowerment mental model, because empowerment mental model have to be in place to mindset of development. So, principle of techno-anthropology. I go back to principle of technology. First, unlock local capability and potential. 2, bring up aspiration of development. And 3, escort self-development process to be optimal. It is the one that already Puni said, that this is the passion and imagination and energy of the community that we have to capture. We have to use that for development of the whole nation, then how is the empowerment? Empowerment principles have to be in place. We have to use the local resource as the local contribution, and it have to be in the media of sincere, trust, honest, and truth. This local resource and local contribution exchange have to be based by motivation, creativity, self-reliance of the community, self-reliance in equity or in capacity, self-confidence, self-valuation, and positive experience. This will be the roots of the small program, which is the orientation have to be perfect. The orientation not to win the election, but for the community. Realistic formulation. If you can develop only 5 kilowatt and the community needs 10 kilowatt, let's discuss with the community. Not okay, we can use it, we can. Many of the project in Indonesia is like that. Organization capacity, it means that community have to be organized. If not organized, then IBEKA will not join the program. The fourth, technical appropriateness. It means that technology have to be understand and manage or operate by the community itself, not by person from outside the community. The second, subsequent cost for sustainability. This is the hardest part because everybody, if give a grant, then I don't have to pay the electricity. No, because to pay the electricity, it's the part of sustainability. There is a cost for technology, so it have to be borne by the community itself. Then the last is consideration of political structure. It is not mean of a political like the party in central government. No, it is like a village political. Maybe Puni can give village political if let's say one leader are having something. Please, Pun.
Well, based on my experiences, political consideration play a very important role. We have to work closely and approach the leader, sometimes informal leader, but they have a very huge and big influence in the community. We have to make sure. I just give you one example. Back in early 2000, when we have to come to Aceh, our young group of engineer was, really still inexperienced, and met a very nice lady who are offering their house because then you can stay in the community with us. And unfortunately, this lady is the second wife of the village headman, which nobody in the village like her. My goodness, it doesn't work. So whenever we invite for the meeting, no one is really, appearing. So what we do, we have to go back. And then, well, wait until 1 to up to 3 months, then we come back again. Make sure that whoever we are staying in the village is those who are respected by local community and have a big influence, and then a very nice guy that we can talk to, and it's a place where we have a village meeting and we can invite them. This is very important. Well, if you see what is happening here, local resources and local contribution is just like below the soil, because we want to build what we call a very nice and very strong tree. And the tree you can see here have to be supported by the political stability, favorable economical and social trends, and don't forget good governance. Also, another support system that's a very important role is ecological soundness, good environmental condition, once again, good governance. Okay, then as an outsider, what is our contribution? Well, our contribution is giving advice, giving training, bringing the technology. The best technology, if we can bring as close as to the community capability. That's why technical appropriateness really play an important role. We also support financially. All of this, we call it manure. So we have to make sure that also the local community contribute. Our advice, training, technology, and financial is only complementary. Has to be transparent and open, well-dosed, time balanced, and continuously monitor. If we are successful doing this, you see the root that nobody can see from the outside is actually what we call personal empowerment. And the tree is picturing the structural empowerment so that objective or outcome of the development can be achieved. Everything here is tangible and can be easy to measure. Okay, the principle of techno-anthropology for community-based development on social business model, everything has to come from the initiative of the community-based development or social business. You have to make sure that local community respect. We have to have that notion. Whenever we go, our engineer or our team should respect the local community. So then in its development or social business be in place. Then make sure that the community also participate. This is participatory development that make community empowerment can be achieved. So community empowerment is local capacity building. After that, you can see that local equity building, we have to make sure that also in place. We have to do this very carefully. Then the three of these are spinning off. Oh, what happened? Then self-propelling of community-based development or social business and intrinsic empowerment will then happening in our development process. Okay, go back to this mindset for SDGs and community-based power generation, especially, we have to remember all this what I have been discussed before. So you can see this. If you're still using the commercial-based centralized power generation with everything I've been mentioned before, then again, our great-grandfather, we call it Einstein, will say that this is insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different result. This is, I can say, that's almost impossible. I can say this because I'm witnessing what we call it the United Nations meeting since early 1992 where you maybe heard Earth Summit up till now. After Earth Summit, there is CSG, the form Commission on Sustainable Development, and then it's not successful. On WSSD in 2002, World Summit on Sustainable Development. Then they create what they call Millennium Development Goals. And when the Millennium Development Goals is not yet creating a better condition internationally, globally, then they have SDGs. And all of us hopefully can witness is the SDGs will be successful or not in 2030.
Okay.
Well, I doubt it if we still doing as business as usual. So this is insanity is something that's really true. Next. Well, whenever we talk about commercial-based centralized power generation, in their mind is financial capital gain, and the result is environmental degradation and biodiversity impoverishment. Because people, well, formal education is only teaching us to use our brain, think, and logic, and the feel, sense, or empathy is empty. We have to have paradigm and attitude changes.
In Marx,
In Marx, I say you always mentioning transformative leadership. I love the word of transformation leadership because where the not only thinking and logic, but the feel, sense, and empathy was something that is being pushed, and it has to be in everybody's heart. So when we talk about feel and empathy, it doesn't mean that we don't have brain. We are balancing the thinking, the logic, left and right brain are balanced. And we have feel and empathy. And as a result of conversation, we have where many people are, this is common sense. We can balancing our thing, our logic, our feeling and empathy. And we will conserve the environmental, the environment for our future. And biodiversity enrichment will be in place. So, you see we not conquer archetype, but we financial gain only. We want community-based distributed power generation become a very important tools. This is socioeconomic is monetary-based, techno-anthropologic is biosphere. Okay, economic growth, efficiency, welfare, equality, and resilience. You already read this before. This is what we want to do. And I give it back to Iskandar.
So, to have the social capital improvement, you have to change paradigm and attitude. In Maksasai, transformative leadership. What is transformative leadership? It's not only thinking and logic, but forget about the sense, feel, and empathy. But the sense, feel of empathy has to develop, and this development not only used, it is not using brain, but the brain is also used, but in more on the right brain, not only the left brain. this have to be system thinking and deep detail. It means that you can go deep to what is your thinking, and the heart will develop by mindfulness. So with this two sections, system thinking and mindfulness. System thinking and mindfulness, if you develop this in balance, then you will move from self-interest and ego and greediness to social justice and environmental justice. From middle class arrogance and vanity to intellectual humbleness. It makes your brain and your heart are connected and communicate, and it makes you can have your human energy. So what is human energy? Human energy, it is the source of what I call social justice. With human energy, you can have a social justice, but without human energy, social justice will not be in place. Social justice will develop environmental justice, and environmental justice will know exactly what is sustainable development. So I will divide this as a three component. First component is the prime mover. Prime mover of humanity is human energy. So then with human energy, you will know social justice and environmental justice. This is the power. Then with this power, you can have a force to make sustainable development. So without this, without human energy, without connection between brain and heart, how you can talk about sustainable development? How can you reach the sustainable development goal? So the last thing is we only live once. Live meaningful life. So we can benefit, we can make a benefit for others and our environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope, our duet presentation can give a benefit to those who are in the frame today or other webinar that is happening now. Okay. Thank you very much, and I'm going to stop this presentation.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Puni and Mr. Iskandar, for your insightful and inspiring presentations. Your experiences and perspectives have truly set the tone for today's discussion. We hope our young audience and the young at heart were deeply inspired by your stories and wisdom. We are grateful for your time and generosity in sharing your work with us. May we now call on our moderator for this morning, Mr. Robbie Alampay. Good morning, Sir Robbie. I'll turn it over to you to begin the discussion.
Good morning, Simone. Good morning to everybody joining us, and thank you to the Ramon Magsaysay Awards Foundation for having me. Always a pleasure. And Bupuni and Pak Iskandar, thank you very much. Terima kasih for a wonderful
Hello.
presentation. I don't think you'll be surprised to hear that, coming from the Philippines, we can relate so much with everything that you've shared. The political dynamics, the concepts of social acceptance and community consensus. But we have two reactors to start with who will be joining us. And I'm sure speaking more about the things that I just mentioned, about how we can not only empathize, but actually even envy everything in our friends and brothers and sisters in Indonesia for everything that you've shared. And in the spirit of learning some more, we have two reactors who will kick us off into our question and answer portion with you. Let me just say that we are also going to be opening the floor for questions from our participants here today. Maraming salamat for joining us. We hope everybody's safe and dry, and certainly in a position to ask as many questions as want about our theme for the day and the theme for the week and the theme for the past few days: water, water everywhere. But equally important, not just water being a risk factor for us, but something that empowers our community. So let me bring in our first reactor to start us all off, but please prepare your questions. You may leave your questions in the comments, and our facilitators will be gathering that for me to try to get through as many as possible. So to start our sharing this morning, we would like to invite today's reactor, the first of two, Ms. Norly Mercado. She is Asia Regional Director of 350.org. 350.org has a vision to build a world run on accessible, renewable energy. And she's with us, Norly Mercado, Asia Regional Director of 350.org.
Salamat. Magandang umaga. Salamat pagi. Ibu Puni Pak Iskandar. I'm glad to see you. Although I was hoping to see you in person, but because of the typhoon, I heard that the flight has to be canceled. But it's still great to be in the same Zoom space with you. And good morning to everyone. I'm Norly Mercado. I'm based in the Philippines, up north of the Philippines, in a province called Isabela, which is also most of the time the typhoon path. So we know by heart how it feels to be on the typhoon path. Thank you very much to the Ramon Magsaysay Foundation for sponsoring such conversations, which is very important, and for recognizing heroes like Ibu Puni, who not only inspire with their ideals, but also work tirelessly on the ground, seeking real solutions to build a better and more hopeful world. I'm actually very happy because I'm surrounded by my heroes, Ibu Puni, Pak Iskandar, Robbie, and everyone here who are helping shape a better future. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm with 350, as Robbie said. You might be wondering why 350? It's an NGO, but I always want to say that our name is actually our battle cry. 350 refers to the critical scientific threshold in the environment. 350 parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which is necessary for us to have a stable climate. And right now, unfortunately, we are on the 427.9 limit. So that's a that's a lot of effort for us to bring it down to 350. But hopefully, with efforts such as this, we can do that. So 350 is not just fighting to reduce emissions and reducing the numbers, but we're also working with communities and with different civil society organizations for climate justice. And I'm so happy to hear words such as dignity, such as sustainability, community-led, and community empowerment, because these are the same things that we as 350 are fighting for and are pushing for. Our approach is nonviolent direct action. We do strategic campaigning and also digital organizing. And I wish to have more collaborations with everyone here in this space. I have a few points. I actually had a lot of notes while Ibu Puni and Pak Iskandar were giving their inputs. Unfortunately, I've had an opportunity to also listen to Ibu Puni and Pak Iskandar on two occasions. I visited one of their projects in Indonesia, in Bunikasi, which is a testament that community-led micro hydro power project is feasible and is possible and is actually helping communities. But I'd like to mention firstly about the critical balance and the nexus of energy, water, and climate. There is a big interdependency there, as Pak Iskandar mentioned earlier. Water is essential for energy generation. It may be hydropower, it may be production of materials for solar panels or even the traditional dirty processing of fossil fuel based energy sources. And energy is required to heat pumps, treatment plants, and distribute water. So there is that nexus there. But we all know, as you were saying, that Asia is flooded during monsoon season, but there's also increasing droughts in most of the places in Asia. So that is those crises, water crises that are happening are we notice it more and more as for the past decades. Because of this climate crisis and the problems that we're facing, there's also a resource competition in terms of the water source. We use it for agriculture, we use it for drinking water, we use it for all ecosystems, for energy, but there's just not enough clean water most of the time, and therefore it's really necessary for us to solve not only the climate crisis but also the different challenges in terms of water. I'd also like to mention about Iskandar and Ibupuni's presentation about community inclusion, which is very important. And I love the term that they used, which is techno-anthropology. It really captures that the need for having projects and interventions that are not just science-based, but also people-centered. And that's really important for me, for the organization, and for the communities. We know, based on our experience working with communities, that they actually have, especially indigenous communities and rural populations, they are excluded from energy and water planning most of the time, but they are the most affected. There are large infrastructure projects, for example, such as large dams, that displaces communities, it degrades ecosystems, it erodes livelihoods and cultures. So micro and pico hydro projects are actually preferable. And probably Ibupuni and Iskandar can put in the links of the Bunikasi projects in the chat box so people can visit and learn more about that. Adjust energy future demands that affected communities and affected people has to have a voice. They have to have agency. They have to have benefits from the projects and not just burdens that or problems that are brought about by the different projects. Either it's a private sector project or a government project. Going back to the case of Bunikasi, and I always mention this because for me, this is really one of the best models that I've seen in terms of providing energy for communities. I learned that in 2011, IBEKA started helping the community plan for it. So it took them 2 years. And when we went to the community, I had the opportunity to go to the community itself and see the microhydro project. It's really working. It's a 15 kilowatt microhydro plant. But the good thing about this is that they use the spirit of community working together. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ibupuni and Iskandar, it's called Gotong Royong, which means working together towards the same vision. And this is actually what we need right now, right? We shouldn't put profits at the center of our interventions. We have to put the people at the center of our projects, of our interventions. The project, the micro hydro plant is actually not just giving energy or light, for example, to the community, but it also gave them livelihoods. And that actually is very important for small scale community based projects to be sustainable. So what the community and IBEKA did, they organized and they put up a sugar palm processing plant, which is owned by the community. The engineers and the technicians and the operators of the plant are actually community members. So IBEKA was able to transfer the technology, not just about the microhydro plant, but also in operating the sugar processing plant. That gave them livelihoods, that empowered even the women, because they now have something to do in the villages. So that for me is something that should be replicated, not just in Indonesia, not just in the Philippines, but across Asia. The third point that I'd like to make is that there should be private and public sector accountability. And I like that the speakers mentioned about justice, social justice, because for me, for us, there will be no climate justice without social justice. Corporations, private sectors. I hope that there are private sector institutions here in this space today, and governments usually prioritize big projects, mega projects, and these are they don't usually prioritize sustainability and social equity. So the private sector must align with climate resilient, water conscious, and community rooted energy solutions. Also, policymakers should institutionalize social safeguards for private sector led projects, because that's very important that communities are not affected and other community rights are upheld as well and respected. I also want to mention that based on our conversations with communities and with civil society organizations, one of the challenges in upscaling community-based renewable energy projects, whether it be solar or micro hydro or pico hydro, is the financing. Financial institutions in their risk analysis, not wanting to deal with a lot of small implementers, would prefer a large scale implementer. And that automatically disqualifies enterprises, small enterprises, and community organizations in the mix. So how can we upscale if there's no financing? My fourth point is about what Ibupuni and Iskandar mentioned, that there's a need to organize communities. We need to build movements for water and energy justice. There should be regional collaboration, not just in Asia and Indonesia, but in the Philippines and Indonesia, but across Asia. One very important thing, though, about building movements and needing to organize is that social enterprises, community cooperatives, community organizations need to be trained on how to install, operate, the technical details, and upscale RE projects, and also how to access financing. Those are very important things that they need to know. My last point, and I'm sorry if I'm taking so much time, is about reimagining the future. We need to have integrated and inclusive solutions, as everyone was saying. Miss Afan in her introduction said that access to energy is essential for survival, not just for survival, but also for dignity. That is really, really important and something that we have to always keep in mind. I also noted Iskandar and Ibupuni's message about transformative leadership, that we have to have systems thinking and mindfulness, because most of the time the projects are only looking at KPIs, indicators or profits, but we have to really go beyond that and look at how it affects the community ultimately. We have to encourage co-designing projects with communities themselves to enhance legitimacy and long-term success of the projects, as the Bunikasi experience has shown. In 350, and this is my last pitch, we have a campaign and we're calling it Reimagine Asia. Because this initiative is for everyone in Asia, not just from the government or the private sector, but communities, students, workers, laborers, to imagine a future where it's sustainable, it's just, it's clean, using clean energy and sustainable energy sources. Because we cannot wait for miracles from the government. We have to act now. We are reimagining a future which is possible because there's already initiatives being done right now, like micro and pico hydro, which I often mentioned, and solar microgrids, which are run by the people. There's movements all over Asia protecting land, the culture, water, and climate. There's a lot of local leaderships in Asian countries rising to demand climate justice, and this is especially from the youth. I've seen a lot of youth leaders who are rising up to the challenge and really making a difference. We believe the future of Asia must be built on renewable energy, community, power, and international solidarity. We believe that Asia is ready for this. It's time for institutions and governments to match that readiness. It's time to shift away from harm and towards the solutions that frontline communities are already building. I guess I'd like to end the reaction with a quote. Asia's energy future must not be built on dry rivers and displaced voices. Water is life, yes, but it's also power. But only with people at the center can we truly build a future that is just, sustainable, and resilient. Asia's future must be powered by the sun, the wind, the water, and the people. Again, thank you very much. Magandang umaga.
Maraming salamat, Norly, and we will hear from Mumpuni and Iskandar later on with their additional thoughts. Again, we would like to inform everyone you can leave your questions at the comments. We will gather them. We will try to get to as many questions as possible. We have another reactor joining us right now, but before we get to her, we'd like to acknowledge some of our guests in our Zoom audience for this morning. We have Professor Luningning Galindez, Dean of the Pamantasan Lungsod ng Maynila College of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences. We have Professor Gladys Ramos, Dean of Student Affairs from the Lyceum of the Philippines University. We'd like to welcome the Society for the Conservation of Philippine Wetlands, Ms. Alia Rees Fernando. She is Vice President of the Supreme Elementary Learners Government at the Department of Education. Mr. Dennis Red Maristani from the Department of Tourism. And welcome Ms. Jihan Al-Difat from the Asian Development Bank and the Young Water Professionals Philippines. Now joining us to follow on the reaction from Norly, joining us is Professor Rosel Tricia Reyes Carbaja. She is from the faculty of the Department of Sociology and Anthropology at the Ateneo de Manila University. Professor Reyes, welcome.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I feel a bit overwhelmed of this because this is actually my first time to join an event like this as a reactor, and I feel like I'm after a very good speaker earlier with Miss Nordy and our reactor. But thank you so much for the opportunity to be here to share my thoughts and definitely to add on, hopefully to add on the whatever it is that we're talking about, water and energy. But definitely, no, thank you, Ibipuni and Iskandar, for your wonderful presentation. This is really something relevant, especially right now. It's still raining outside our home. And aside from that, it's very relevant, especially with what we are experiencing personally in a sense of renewable energy. Because aside from water, we know in our society right now, the increasing rate of electricity bills that we have, if we to those who can resonate with us, and it's really something that we consider now to how can we use other means of electricity, no other use of energy, no, in our everyday life. And in that note, it really is becoming expensive. So the source, the financing is really difficult. To go to my points, no, again, thank you. This is more of an academic side of it because I've been teaching full time in Ateneo, and at the same time, I also teach part time at the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. And aside from that, all my researches are all about education, specifically alternative education and civic education. So what I'll be sharing would be more inclined to that. So this couple of months, I've been teaching the contemporary world, and this is something very connected to water and energy and the context and concept that you've shared earlier. What I always tell my students that there's so many taken for granted notions that we, do not consider on a daily basis, but it's actually something that is very important and connected to the changes that occurred in our society right now. That includes, water that's going on around, and even our daily consumption of the electricity, and even the way we eat, the way we go to school, our transportation. But then again, no, given there's so many taken for granted notions, no, we know for a fact that throughout history there are changes that we are already adding up, and this is something that a change that we've learned through history that we are considering right now, and that is a means for us to look for and really look into those taken for granted notions in our environment and change them and contribute them to how we can actually use these things, no, in our daily life, like in water and energy, and to becoming more sustainable. No, now going with that, no, it's really difficult, no, in our industry to actually and it's something that we learn from, no, but coming from the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, we always, no, include and take note how it is important that we go to the ground, understand what's happening there, what their sentiments are, and how things, the skills and capabilities of our people on the ground. And from there, we can definitely upskill and, rearrange things so that it will be more effective for them. No, so that's an important aspect that I think I've gotten from the presentation. It is something that we've been pushing for. And I think the role of us educators, especially those in research, is something relevant. And I think from what was shared, no, I'm already thinking how I can share this to my students, how to add them to my students, even pitch it to my colleagues in the university, because through research, through being on the ground and actually doing field work, no, it's something that we can apply. Although that's the problem, the difficulties that also mentioned by Miss Nori earlier, is that financing is really something that we have difficulties. So our projects, know what we research about, even if it is very much relevant to the community, we are as just as good as those who finance us. So in that note, no, there's always that impact or qualifications, in a sense that we hope that fundings will still be present, so that we can continue with the projects that we have. This is something that is true that we are experiencing right now with the health sector. uh, we have a very good project. It's just that the funding is not there anymore, and it's something that is being helpful in the community at this moment. But I'm going to that point because with everything you've shared, I'm at that point of how can we ensure, no, or how can we really apply it in the Philippine context? How do we think, or I understand we already have a means for it and how it was applied in Indonesia. So how can the Filipino people would be, how can they accept it? How's the model of it for them for this acceptance? And definitely how can their mindset change with this example? Because we know in difference of culture and in society as well, this is something that we can really study and understand through going to the ground. And in that note, no, um, how can they accept it? How we can actually influence policymakers to do this? Because I believe this is with past projects as well. No, this is a difficulty. Yes, they can see that this is a good project, but then again, with changing leaders. There's also changes in preferences in projects, but we are in that hope that despite all those things, we can continue with projects that is similar to this, that will really contribute to our communities. And of course, the facility, on how they'll be able to really create it in a community that again connected to funding, and it's something that is supposedly needed to really understand and being on the ground with the situational analysis that was mentioned earlier as well. Now, I think my final point would be to think um, Iskandar with the techno-anthropological aspect. And I think it's something new to me with the term itself, right? But it caught my interest in how I wanted to react, because I wanted to understand as well what it's all about. And I think I got it, and I know its importance in society because of that reality, that we really need the people, especially those living in those situations, who will be the initial individuals who will have impact or will have direct connection to these projects, and really need them to be involved, to be part of as simple as the planning process, so that they understand. And of course, more than that, we really need to ensure continuous capacity building, because continuous learning, and I'm pushing for alternative learning, because there's so many other ways for us to impart knowledge and understanding to our individuals, especially the youth, and that's, thank you so much. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Rosel. And again, thank you to Norley for leading us into this conversation. And now, Pat, Ibu, we'd like to open it to questions. I'll take the liberty of asking the first question, taking off from something that Rosel and Norley already alluded to. We're all, of course, very much interested in what is foundational to all of this, which is community acceptance. And as you pointed out, in this mindset of techno-anthropology, it takes a while. And not only that, it takes a lot of work. If I recalling from your presentation, just to secure village consensus, from your experience, it takes 9 to 12 months to secure the village consensus. My first question is, actually takes it to a more technical, even legal question. What is consensus? And what is your indicator that there is now acceptance and consensus? I ask this because I think, as Rosel and Norley alluded to and suggested earlier, social acceptance and community acceptance is actually a legal term in the Philippines. Every time you have projects on water, anything to do with the environment, anything to do with the energy, community acceptance, social acceptance is actually a legal term, because it is a legal requirement now for many of these projects. What are your indicators that a community has accepted? For that matter, when you say that there has to be social acceptance, how wide does that go? Is it at the level of the village? Is it at the level of the province? Does it involve the religious sector? Does it involve village leaders? How do you define the community, and how do you define acceptance at the level of that community?
Okay, thank you, Robbie. And also, I think Rosel and Norley. First of all, when we're talking about consensus, we have to make sure that at the village level first, because they are the ones that are going to operate, to maintain, and also to manage the facility that we are going to work and implement in that respected area. When we are talking about the parameters, what we do in the first place is we having a village meeting. We know how many population in that village who are participating. That's become one very important indicator. How many of them are coming, listening, response, even some of them asking a question. We just want to make sure that participation is not only coming and listening, then that's it. But we want to ask their opinion. Apart from that, what is very important is also participation. When we bring up the question like, what is important of this project? Is this for IBEKA, for community, for the government? And we have to clarify every answer that they are delivering during the village meeting. The best part is when we realize that some of the people are having problems in talking in public space, then they usually come again. That's why we have what we call it live-in concept. Live-in concept is we are staying in the village together with the community, and we become somebody that community can talk to. We give them what we call trust. We trust the people. We trust the villagers. So they also trust us. There is no barrier, especially psychological barrier, because we don't want them thinking that, wow, coming from the city, you know, the Weber theory that is we have a big culture and small culture. And villagers always looking at us as a big culture, coming from big city and bringing the technology, finance. We want to make sure that we are in the same level with them, so they can talk freely. They can ask us whatever they don't know. This is very important. That's why it takes time. Well, other than that, in Indonesia, especially with more than 300 different ethnic groups, I would say that from the west to the east, we have a different society. This is also on anthropological points of view, that's true. If you come to West Sumatra, maybe I don't need that long. I just talk like a few weeks, and then they know that, because they are very, a community that's very famous as being entrepreneurial, who possess a very strong entrepreneurial. So there are warung padang in many places. If you come to Indonesia, maybe you know that, and so many traders in the market is coming from their area. So everything is calculated with them by how many benefit that I can get from these activities. So it's easy because they can see very clearly the benefit that possessed from this project. Apart from that, is also a level of education. That's very important. The eastern we go, such as Papua, for instance. I'm really sorry with my dear brother and sisters in Papua. They are really left behind due to the many political issues. And we have to think and to stay with them at minimum 2 years. I still have my engineer now, 8 of them are building very small 10 kilowatt hydro and 8 kilowatt peak solar PV hybrid in a very tiny island. We want to make sure that they understand outside world. So most of the people who staying there has become fishermen, and we want to make sure that this electricity coming to them give them not electricity but also cool storage, so they can sell their harvest from the sea to longer distance with a good price, and really takes time even to ask them to participate, especially bringing all the equipment very far away. If you saw our films, even in Sumba, that's also eastern part of Indonesia, we stayed for 5 years at that time when we started with the clean water supply and sanitation back in 1999. But now we don't need that much. They just participate, and if you see, they even make 2.6 kilometers road, cutting the hill, because they want to know that's the easier access for them to bring all those equipment, which is very heavy, but they are doing it together as a gotong royong, is a working together on voluntary basis. They're not expecting any payment, any money whatsoever, but they know that this is social capital that we would like to gain from them. Social capital is when our community understand that this benefit is for our own villagers. Okay, that is the indicator that we can see from the meeting, from the questions, from their participations. At the higher level, what we want to know is they give a permission that they do not bother in terms of corruption, for instance, because they think that, well, projects must be money. We have to make sure that they understand this is for your own people. You become a district headman, you're not capable enough to give them electricity, to give them clean water supply and sanitation. We talk to the local community. That's why no local community with us together as one entity coming to the local government to explain that we want to build this. We don't want you to bother us. Even if you cannot contribute, it's fine, as long as you do not ask all the nitty-gritty that finally they want to get. We found those many difficulties. That's why what Iskandar mentioned between 9 to 1 year, but sometimes in the easy area, higher education can be just 1 month or 3 months. Yeah. I give you an example of Ponggang. Ponggang, maybe if not still remember, it's only like 20 minutes from where our training facilities is located in West Java. We have to make sure that the local government give us permit. What happened at that time was I was really, back in early 2000s. When we asking for the permission, because like a water channel and also the permit for building the powerhouse and everything, they ask money. This is drive me crazy. So what we do is instead of paying them, we bring one truck, consists of many people. I think it's 2 trucks. 2 trucks, so 2 trucks that we brought people from the village and asking the permit for them. And we can do this because the local community trusts us. And I trust them that they can be in a group with us to build the facilities that will give the benefit for them and their future generations. Okay, so you want to add something?
On the contrary of Ponggang, there is a Baduy community. Government is already ordered to the dinas. What is dinas? The
local government.
Local government energy sector to electrify them. But then the community is refused to be electrified because they want to stay in traditional way. So we have to stand behind the community.
Respect them.
Respect them. Fight to the government. Do not electrify this community.
Yeah, because they are tribes that still like maybe you knew that in America they have also a community like that. I cannot recall, but it's in Philadelphia. I visited them. Amish. They have Amish Amish community tribes in US that are refusing any modernity. This is also still we can find it, but for me it's fine. I mean, that environment, we cannot even go inside their area. They have a restricted area, and no matter what, your position in the government, that you're not allowed to go inside. This is, I hope it's answering all the question that you want to know. It's the parameter and indicator is obviously can be see when we are live in, stay with them most of the time during the preparation, social preparation, during the implementation and construction, and also after the period of we call it service that makes sure that this facility running very well and properly and give them benefit.
Additional to Puni. modernization, electricity, basically bring us to the thinking about if you do something, you have to have a financing support. But if we go back to the traditional community, which whatever they want to do, it's more on social capital, not financial capital. So actually what we are trying to do is go back to the traditional capacity, but with the intellectual capacity of modern intellectual capacity, but still use the traditional way of life, which is not in a hurry, which is not in
Slow living.
Which more harmonize with the environment. Recently, modernization make us not live harmony with the environment. That's why if we use electricity, let's say Takba village in South Sulawesi, Tanah Toraja, they really understand if the rhythm of the river are dry, then they have to
reduce their needs.
They reduce their electricity power, recycling their electricity. This night they have the electricity, then another 2 nights there is no electricity. Difference with Jakartanese. Every night it have to be an electricity. Every night it have to be power, whatever they need, which is the power are generated from coal, which is mengorbankan apa?
Yeah, it's a destroy the environment in Kalimantan.
Village in Kalimantan. It is not Mumpuni.
Well, I understand. Iskandar is hardcore socialist, so sometimes I would like to bring it in the middle. Why it is very important. We still need electricity and we still need to develop. But in my opinion, it's balancing. Balancing is very important. That's why now we are talking about just. But in my opinion, when you talk about just energy transition, you have to remember accessibility. It's not fair that you stop people not having an access to electricity. You want to transition your energy to different level of renewable energy, but at the cost of people who do not have electricity yet.
Balancing of the living aspect is more on you developing your affection, your feeling, your sense, your empathy. And because of that, then you not terlalu depend, not
I think we've. Are we having technical problems?
Cognitive things.
Okay.
Cognitive things. We are in a modern situation where society is more on cognitive. Affective is very, very small.
It's lacking. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And apologies for jumping in briefly there because I think we had a slight stall in your signal. But things look okay now.
There's so many questions.
I'll compile a number of questions that are all quite related, having to do with corruption and political interests. And let me read one in particular that I think represents for a lot of people asking about, sustainability in the face of corruption and also competing political interests, some of which may even be legitimate political interests. How can grassroots movements advocating for clean energy and water access protect their initiatives from being derailed by political turnover, corruption, or conflict? Apart from corruption and conflict, I want to emphasize political turnover because that's one of the realities. I know in Indonesia, you have your elections every 5 years, at least for national. in the Philippines, the cycle is 6 years for national elections, but for local, it is only 3 years. We change local officials every 3 years. So how do you ensure sustainability through changing political leaders? You had emphasized the importance of having political considerations. We're not, the important thing is actually not to deny the political realities on the ground. So how do you ensure that through the political cycles, and for that matter, the real dynamics that as successful, the more successful your initiatives become, you are actually creating political structures and sources of political power, whether that is water and or a facility for energy. You are creating a power center that many people will want to compete over. How do you ensure sustainability and the very least stability around the success of your projects?
Well, Robbie, one thing I would like to emphasize here is creating resilience in the community level. Make them understand that they have legal power. Whatever the project, we should have what we call it long-term project, long-term benefit by bringing this to the notary. We always make sure that the ownership is in the community level. I think I did the same thing for the Philippines during my visit, helping the DOA in 2006 to 2009. That local community should have legal power, resilience, and also their legal standing was by bringing the legal aspect of the ownership. I give you a very clear example where I'm not sure Norley visiting or not, but not very far from our training facilities, there is a Changemakers. If you Google and download, Changemakers is a project 50% owned by the local community, 50% owned by the private. Okay. During the construction back in 2000, we know that we have a different village headman and also district headman, but I'm sure that this is very close to what we call it political issue. What we do is we have a notary who are giving them legal aspect. So when it's changing, it happened. Somebody who are suddenly ruling the party in that village came from Jakarta, and then they see what kind of resources that can be taken over, because they know that this power plant 120 kilowatt is a sell to the grid. So there is money. The money that is coming regularly every month was attracting them because it's like $5,000 a month. Then they would like to change the ownership. I'm so glad that in the first place, we already have certificate legal aspect that if you change this legal aspect, you're against the law, even though you have the power as a district headman, for instance. So this is something that we have to mitigate in the first place. And I have also a story in Aceh. It is very in the middle of nowhere. And the local district headman suddenly won that power plant was claiming built by them. They asked that power plant built by us because he would like to run for the district. He's coming from the hello. Okay.
Yes, we can. I think we've lost them for a bit. While they try to come back, maybe I could bring back in Susan. Yeah,
Yes.
we'll try to establish
There.
Ibu, are you back? Are you back with us?
Yeah, I'm back, is it something wrong with you or us? I don't know. Sometimes I
Yes,
cannot. I saw
we
you
lost
freeze like,
the
oh my God.
yes. We lost the
Okay,
signal for
well, I hope it's
a
okay.
few moments there. Please continue. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe Cinta Mekar you already knew how we bring the legal aspect to the local community, right? And then happening in Aceh, the district headman would like, is a political man who would like to run for the second term. And then they asked us, can they claim that the power plant that we built is actually, he is the one that's sponsoring? I said, no, we're not that crazy, We know that one of the, I inform you that we want to make sure that the community, in the empowerment tree, if you saw, transparent, open. So before we build, we explain everything. So it's almost impossible for the local district headman who would like to run for the possible, because everybody knows that you're not building this power plant, So for me, creating resiliencies, giving them legal power, and make sure that ownership is in the local level with the legal aspect very clearly in the long term, of course, long term, yeah. And nobody can override this. Yeah, I think I'm glad that I hope
Yeah. But
Okay, thank you.
Ibu,
This is
if you don't mind,
from
I'd like to
Auke
follow
Itzing.
just Ibu, Ibu, just a quick question on that. You've emphasized the importance of this and the intellectual capacity, and for that matter, the educational level and the awareness level should be high as well. And this is foundational to the anthropological side of this framework. But a quick question, because we have a lot of other questions to get to. But what is the worst case scenario that you've seen? When you have something on the technological side that is successful, but on the anthropological side, there are limitations to the intellectual, educational, even the social acceptance. When that is not present, what is the worst case scenario that you have seen that can happen even to a potentially successful project?
I have two examples that finally we do not build, because in one they who are informally hold the positions, and then when they know that we are going to come, and then they ask for contribution. I said, what kind of contribution? And he cannot explain, but it's mean that as a talk, I have the power of this area. So every step they charge us, because they consider that the road to the power plant is in their area of power. So I asked the local community to solve this problem. If they don't solve the problem, finally they cannot, because this is very powerful, a very bad group of men. And then, sorry to say, I have to say sorry to local community. I'm sorry, I cannot build, because this is not the way we do the development. And also, if the community doesn't want to have cooperative, because I need an institution. If it's everybody owns it, nobody owns it. We want institution, legal aspect, all things that are we preparing to actually give benefit to the local community. And one thing also happening with us, when we have problems in a big area, also in Aceh, then we would like to to improve river base, and then local government want to use the money in the project and consider this power plant as a project. So they want to well, I call it, to get the money from the central government this, and I said, we don't need that money. When with our own engineer. So what happened when our engineer came? They bring and they stop us. So I think, well, up to you. This is that mostly they want to repair using the money that, in my opinion, is corruption money. Because we already train the local community. If something happened, they can repair on their own. This is something like that. It's mostly happened, but thanks to God, only twice in 2 different places. Well, I saw
Before we get to
not all of them.
Okay. Before we get to more questions, we'd also like to acknowledge we'd also like to acknowledge the presence joining us online, Mr. Auke Idzenga, co-founder and CEO of the Alternative Indigenous Development Foundation Incorporated. AIDF is a fellow, one of your fellow Ramon Magsaysay laureates from 2011.
The same year with us.
So here's a question that's a lot of people are also asking, Ibu, a lot of the people joining us today are all very young people. And there's this question, therefore, of what in particular have you found? What value and energy have you particularly found with the youth in your initiatives and in your programs? And what advice would you give our young people?
Okay, maybe I would like to start with the patriot energy. We creating awareness in the young generation, and we invite them to join our movement for the nation. I'm so glad that young generation at the moment do not looking for money anymore. Very, very few of them, and they're looking for meaning. Being with the local community for 1 to 2 years, helping them to find the source of energy so that they can build together and giving them the light is become one of the adventure. So the training that we supply for them with the competency, technical competency, and then perseverance competency. So whenever we put you in an area like in Papua, you have to walk for 5 days from one village to another village, then you are strong enough to face that. You are survive. So that's why we have a survival training as well for them. Sending them in the forest for 5 days without anything to eat. You have to find your own your own food, but giving them the information and also knowledge which one is edible trees or which one is not, plants that they know that they can survive with that. And then we have to prepare them with the knowledge of what we call a community-based development. We call this competency of understanding community, or can be in the community shoes. Last but not least, the sincerity competency. It's very important, especially when you have to be in a place where there's no electricity, no clean water supply and sanitation, no proper road, no signal. Well, some of the young people may be without signal. It's like in the end of the day, well, that is the end of their life without signal. But yes, we are successful enough now that hundreds and hundreds young engineer and young graduates following our activities, spreading to send them spreading in all different parts of Indonesia. I would love if the Philippines can have that, because mostly village and villagers, live in a place where so many natural resources. But why they are poor? Because they lack of intellectual capacity that can manage and operate or utilizing their own local resources. If you have the capability to utilize your own local natural resources, it's easily for you to be rich. And we are walk the talk, because we send them in a place that abundance of natural resources. They don't know what to do, but then we give them advice, and this young generation stay with them. Now they can export their natural product and they have a good life. This is what is very important for young people. Please be consistent and make your life useful for other people, because the money will follow you. That's very important in my opinion. Yes, Robbie, thank you.
Yes. Okay. Here's a question. I posted anonymously by one of our attendees. Facilitating change is difficult due to culture. You've spoken about this, but is it possible to fast track this change? We are also fighting. We are also having to deal with the reality of urgency in many problems that we have to attend to. There is urgency in addressing poverty. There is urgency in bringing electricity and water to isolated communities. But there is also the reality, as you've reminded, of having to deal with things sensitively and with much respect to the local community, local culture, and so on. Is there a way to fast track this, as
Yes.
you found?
Well, nowadays we are so lucky with technology. Before, a long time ago, I cannot bring any films to show them. Nowadays, you just come, you bring the small generator, and showing them how the participation of local community will really give the benefit for your own village. Seeing is believing. Very, of course, impossible to bring many people from very remote area to where we built and being. They was like, well, in the first place, like, oh, it's possible. Yeah, as long as you want to do, working together on voluntary basis, we come and help you in building your social capital, because convince them they have so many resources that can benefit their own life. They just lack of intellectual capacity. That's why this young generation, in a huge number, we send them, because we train them to have the intellectual capacity, bigger also the empathy, the sense of helping the underprivileged community. This is, I think, that's one of the solutions that we want to make to stay with them.
Yeah, Ibu, Pak, we're having technical difficulties again. I apologize for having to jump in. We've had but I'll also take this opportunity. But we did get the sentiments that you conveyed, Ibu, notwithstanding the choppy signal. But we are unfortunately also running out of time. To those with us, we hope we were able to consolidate some of the questions and express it on behalf of as many people as possible. But at this point, I'd like to bring back in Susan and Norley and Professor Reyes, just to help lead us back into, wrapping up and having a good sense of synthesis and learnings from this. Susan, I'll start with you. How is this striking you? So many familiar things, no?
So many, Robbie, and I just wanted to say thank you so much again for this wonderful morning. Here in the Philippines, this would have been one of those morning, a lazy morning, because it's raining and it's early. But look at what we've done. We've intensified it again, and we're talking about things that are so important to both countries, Indonesia and the Philippines. But at the same time, everything that we talked about, resonates across so many other countries in Asia, whether it's this whole journey from fossils to renewables, whether it's all the climate risks that we're all undergoing, especially Philippines and Indonesia, because we're so close together, and this, the access gaps, the remote areas, the islands that we all have. And by the way, I wanted you to know that before I started Ramon Magsaysay, I was so proud to say that we had 7,000 islands in the Philippines, and that, oh my gosh, we have so many islands. Little did I know that Indonesia had 17,000 islands. I was like, OMG. I mean, it's even more. And so, to give electricity and access to all of these people is such a huge task. But again, I think this morning for me was very hopeful, because the mere fact that BRECA has done it, okay? It's just a matter now of, as Norley says, customizing it to our own here in the Philippines, or customizing it to the other places that Norley's organization is in, whether it's in the Amazon or Africa or wherever. I think customization and learning the customs of the people, respecting them, making them part of the whole initiative is key. And that's why I'm also so happy that we have a lot of educators with us this morning, because sometimes passion and desire to help is not enough. We need to give them, our young people, the technical know-how to deal with communities, to immerse themselves, to give them the energy and the support to keep doing it, because it's not easy. And if we have this template coming from BRECA that we can copy, or not copy per se, but actually use it as an inspiration to build something of our own. And then we have young teachers like Rosel here who can inspire her students to say, it's already happening. It's just a matter of us putting our hearts and minds and technology together to also follow suit. It's really giving me such a hopeful morning. So thank you all so much. And Robbie, for your facilitation as well.
No, always a pleasure. It's an understatement to say that I always look forward to learning. But I just want to bring in, two quick points, final points from Norley and Rosel as well. As you know, I took off from your points as well about community acceptance, and how difficult it is on the ground. Iskandar referred to it as well, that in this framework of technology and anthropology, the technology is actually the easy part. You can actually imagine it, it's tangible, you can bring it, people can feel it, they can pull it up a hill, you can cross a river with it, and people will do it. That's actually the easy part. But quickly, I just wanted to prod you again, Norley and Rosel, on what you found on the ground about how difficult the anthropological part is, how difficult the sociological part is.
I can go ahead. In my previous life, before I joined 350.org, I used to work for Friends of the Earth Philippines, or Legal Rights and Natural Resources Center, and we work with indigenous communities here in the Philippines. One of the things that really is very important is letting them realize that they have rights. So one of the things that we did when we go to communities is to give them a legal briefing on the Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act, the IPRA, which embodies all of the rights of indigenous communities. So it's really very important for them to build their own agency, because ultimately NGOs will leave the community. It's going to be them who will need to be sustainably doing the work. So that is one of the things that's really important. But also there are challenges in terms of cultural norms. Most of the NGOs, for example, want women to be involved in the community activities, but some indigenous community cultures are highly patriarchal, unfortunately, and have indigenous leaders that are all men. So there's also those kinds of cultural nuances that we have to be very aware of, as Iskandar and Ibupuni was mentioning earlier. But that doesn't mean that we don't advocate for equality in the community, because the women are also doing their own way of influencing decision making. For example, they're not in the circle of tribal leadership, but they know that they can actually give their inputs, or they can influence their husbands informally, so that their thoughts and their inputs are also included in the conversation. One of the things that I also would like to amplify is the concept of free, prior, and informed consent. Because yes, most of the time there is consultation happening, but is it genuine? Is it free? Are the communities in a safe space wherein they can actually question if the projects are not intended for them? Free, prior, are they given prior knowledge, or is it just a consultation that was the invitation was given to them yesterday, and today they have to say yes or no to a project? So it has to be free, prior, and it has to be informed. It has to be in their local language, for example. It has to be translated. It has to be culturally appropriate and respectful. And consent, of course, it has to be a genuine consent. And I think Iskandar and Ibupuni already mentioned that earlier. So yeah, so those are my experiences, but also just a quick note that in some communities, we may not be getting the expected results that, or the desired results that we want from them. But I think what's important is that they have to determine their own mode of development. So if they say yes to a project, then we have to respect that. If they say no to a project, for example, of a big solar farm, then we have to respect that and ask them why they don't want that project. So those are just some of the things that I have learned while engaging with local communities here in the Philippines. Thank you.
Sorry that our problems with the internet.
Rosel?
Okay.
All right. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Rosel, your final thoughts?
All right. Thank you so much again for this opportunity, and thank you for the presentations, no, from Puni and Skandar, no. I really would like to emphasize again, no, on that idea of difficulties with political change. And I think it's important to note that it's not just the national or barangay level and political change that is a difficulty, but there are also internal political issues that these individuals from within the community are encountering, and it's something that needs to be addressed for these kinds of projects to be successful. But again, with the change of mindset, and I think it's a very good strategy, no, to do that live in concept, because I've also been a representative for an indigenous community, and in gaining their trust, it's easy to just come and go every time you have an appointment with them. But then with the live-in concept, not just in the indigenous community but in other communities, they really feel that rapport, that concern, and that movement for change, and it's something very important for them. And through that as well, we can definitely push through with a project. And I think another concept that I think would be very relevant, which is the community, ang tawag nila, community ownership. And I think that could be effective in these types of setting within the Philippine context. But then, of course, there's really so much that we need to go through first before that. But I think this could be a way for us to gain their trust and their, change of mindset, maybe in the long term, no. And thank you, Miss Susan, for mentioning our role as an academic, because it really, while Miss Puni was presenting, I already have in thoughts how I can include it in my lessons. And I think this is something that they'll be interested in understanding and being more aware of in the larger context. And of course, with my colleagues, I think this is something that they'll be interested in as well.
Yeah.
So
No, and let's not, let's let this be the beginning of more conversations, of us doing things together more collaboratively. We don't want this to be a one-time, big-time thing. I know Joy Alampay and her team are doing such a great job behind the scenes in putting all of these talks together, in putting all the great people together. So let's not let's not lose sight of that. That you have people behind you wanting to make this a movement for the better.
thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. We'll definitely build. Thank you.
And I will seize on that, Rizal, to have my final question as well, which is by way of inviting Ibu and Iskandar to have a final word as well. I was just struck, Ibu and Pak, that I think you mentioned it at least 3-4 times. You said, as an outsider, as an outsider. And I juxtapose that with Norley and Roselle's reminders that, community acceptance and communities embrace is really the most important thing. But, talk to us if you could, just for a few moments. We're running out of time. But about how important is it to remind ourselves that despite all our facilitation and everything we want to instigate, at the end of the day, we are still going to be outsiders. And we will still leave these projects in the hands of the people, in the hands of the communities, and we will move on. You will move on. IBEKA will keep moving on to many communities. Will you never be an insider in these communities? And what is the virtue of reminding ourselves that we are still actually, at the end of the day, outsiders? Ibu, you are on mute. You are on mute, Ibu.
Okay, I have to remind myself that we can say that our work is very successful, is that we work to make us out of work. I hope you know what it means. It means that the community will be independent, the program will be sustainable, so they don't need us anymore, because we have to move to other villages that do not have the privilege to be working with us. That's make us always have what we call phasing out activities. We have to mitigate ourselves that everything we build is for the community, not for us. That's why very important message for me is, while we are there, we have to find what we call it local champion. Why we need local champion? Because local champion, it will be the person in charge. So we are, as an external activator, we have to find the local activator, and they are the one, internal activator, they are the one that are going to continue what the foundation that has been laid on, and they have to continue for their own community benefit. This is one of very important aspect. I don't know if Iskandar has something to say.
I think I will go back to Ibu Susan that tell that we have 17,000 island. What we are doing right now is thinking about the continental paradigm. We have to change to archipelago paradigm. Philippines and Indonesia is an archipelago. But why we think in continental paradigm? Big, few, uniform, not small, many, but specific. That's all I can add to Puni.
Okay. Terima kasih, Pak Iskandar, Kuntoadji, and Ibu Puni. Again, and to IBEKA for your wonderful work. It's been an honor for me to learn as well as to join you in this conversation. I now happily turn over to Simone to lead us towards the end of our program.
Thank you, Sir Robbie. At this juncture, we would like to request for a photo opportunity, a Zoom photo opportunity, Joining us in this photo opportunity are our RM awardee Ibu Tri Mumpuni, Pak Iskandar, Mr. Robbie Alampay, Miss Susan, Miss Norly Mercado, and Miss Joy Alampay, as well as Miss Rosel Reyes. May we request our panelists, resource speakers, and reactors to turn on their cameras and give us their best smiles. We are taking a screenshot in 3, 2, 1. And another one, please. In 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much. Before we end, we would like to call on once more Miss Susan Afan for a brief closing message.
Thank you for bringing sunshine to our morning. We deeply appreciate your being with us. And as I said, let this be the beginning of many more. Thank you all. And I just wanted to say special thank you to Joy Alampay over there in the corner and her entire team for putting all these things together. There's so much hard work that goes behind the scenes, and I could not be more grateful to her, her team, and the entire Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation team. Thank you. Salamat.
Okay, thank you. Salamat. See you again.
Salamat, syukran. Terima kasih. Na.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And with that, we conclude this meaningful session. Thank you all for being a part of Water and Energy. Let's continue to be stewards of water, champions of innovation, and agents of resilience in our cities and communities. We invite you to explore the Fair Water exhibit on the second floor of Ayala Museum. We would also like to invite you to the Indigenous Congress on August 7 to 9 at the Ramon Magsaysay Center. In the meantime, please answer the feedback form accessible through QR code on the screen. The Fair Water Talks will run every week from June to August 16. We invite you to our next talk tomorrow, July 26, for Water and Communities, featuring speakers from Maynilad, the Asian Development Bank, and a special message from the 2018 Ramon Magsaysay awardee from India, Sonam Wangchuk. We would also like to invite you to Aquartist, a children's drawing contest, an event of Fair Water exhibit happening every Saturday at the Ayala Museum. Tell your friends, bring your family, and let's keep the movement growing. To keep updated on our latest activities, visit our website at rmaward.asia or follow us on social media at Magsaysay Award. You can also visit the social media sites for the Fairwater Manila exhibit at Fairwater MNL and the event microsite fairwatermnl.com. Thank you, everyone, and have a good morning.